Restaurant Unstoppable, inspire, empower, and transform the industry. With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, Matt Plapp. My man, Matt, are you feeling unstoppable today?
Always unstoppable, always.
I'm excited for today's conversation. I've known you for almost 2 years now. It's crazy to think we met at the 2019 TRA Marketplace, or was it 2018? It's been 3 years?
Yeah, it was July of 2019, I think.
July of 2002 years. Crazy to think. So a little bit more about Matt. Matt Plapp is an avid marketer, CrossFitter, author, speaker, and consultant business coach. He's owned his own marketing firm since 2018. And since then, he has helped hundreds of companies market with a purpose. That purpose is ROI. Since 2016, they've changed their focus to restaurants. And today they have helped restaurants all over the world with their ROI engine marketing platform. Matt's 2 books in the restaurant marketing field are Don't 86 Your Restaurant Sales and Sell More Slices. And you have a 3rd book coming out next week, Restaurant Marketing That Works, before, during, and after COVID. So we're just scratching the surface. I really want to learn more about you and today's subject, and we're going to be diving deep into basically how you can build a database of customers and use your marketing to build that database. But let's get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
The hardest part of writing your own story is knowing that you're worth the ink. It's from a Kid Quill song.
The hardest part of writing your own story is knowing that you're worth your own ink. Is that basically just having self value?
Self-belief. I think that's a lot of us go through, and I've seen a stat that was like the number of times you've been told the word no since you were a kid, and it gets hammered in your head, and everything is thought like it's not possible. It's not possible. I can't do it. I can't do it. And majority of people aren't around the right people often enough. I don't hang out, like a couple of my friends I know that are multimillionaires. I get to see them occasionally, but I'm not around them every day. Yeah. And when you're around a certain level of, you tend to go to around the people you're around. I mean, if you go on a run, quick part of this, it ties into it. I just thought about, I'm in Chicago about 7 years ago. I'm doing a urban athlon with a guy named John Parker, a buddy of mine. Somehow I signed us up for the championship heat. No clue how, because neither one of us were hardcore runners. We were like 8.5, 9-minute mile guys for like 7-8 miles. This was an 8-mile run, or half marathon actually. It was like 11 miles, I think. And we get running, and we're at 8 a.m. It leaves right by Soldier Field. We're running up the Lake Michigan right there. I think that's what it is. And the lady next to us goes, "Great job, guys, 6:35." And I go, "What's that mean? 6:35? We're running, right?" She's like, 6:35 pace. I'm like, pace of what? I'm not a runner. I wasn't then. She's like, that's how the first mile I'm like, I just ran a mile in 6:35. I look at John, we're like, oh crap, we better back this down. We got 11 more, or whatever it was. And so we slowed back down. But the only reason we ran with that I had never run a 6:35. I'd run an 8-minute mile. And I ran a 6:35 mile because I was with a pack of people that was what they were going to run the whole damn race.
Yeah.
And that it's the same thing. And yeah. So, I think the hardest part of
this literally, you were the average of those you were surrounding yourself with.
Yeah. And so I think one of the things I've got it on all my keychains. I've got it on a lot of our stuff. I listen to the song all the time, but it's, it says in there, the end of the song, hardest part about writing your story is knowing you're worth the ink. You got to believe in you. If you can't look in the mirror every day and know that you can accomplish ABC at a very high level, why should anybody else believe you?
Yeah. The first, like when you're leading a team, if you can't lead yourself, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will believe in you.
Yep.
I love it. Awesome stuff. Great way to get this thing started. And your story is really great. And this is the first time you've come on the show. So I want to just kind of dive deep into who you are and how you got to where you are today. And then we'll really pull back the layers on what we'll be talking about, again, using marketing to build a database of customers. But where does your story start? Help us get to know you.
So 1999, graduated college and got a job in radio advertising. And during that exact time, I wasn't real happy with it. I guess it was March of 99, and went out and hustled, knocked on doors, talked to small businesses, did really well the first 90 days, but didn't really feel like I was getting the respect. And it's funny that I look back now, I didn't earn any respect, but I had this chip on my shoulder. I did so well the first 90 days out of this job. My dad's a professional sales trainer. He literally could probably sell you a sponsorship on your own podcast, and you get done and go, oh crap, I'm sponsoring my own podcast. And he taught me how to sell. And so literally I had an unfair advantage. I knew how to shoot the jump shots going into it. So I did great right away. And in the radio business, they typically, people leave, a rep quits, they've got 40 accounts, they divvy some of them out, they hire a new rep, give them some of the account list. And so I had been dominating, May, June, July, and getting no accounts. People are quitting, people are leaving, and Matt's getting no love. And so I had a chip on my shoulder. And at that same time, I didn't know if I wanted to do it forever. So me, my dad, and my brother decided to start a boat and RV dealership, a consignment dealership, online only. We had not enough. My dad didn't want to put his own money into it. He didn't know if me and my brother were morons. And so he's like, we'll get a loan from the Bank of Kentucky for $5,000, a little line of credit. And that's what we're going to start the business with. And how are we going to do it? Well, I'm like, I've got this guy, Glenn Warner, that sells website stuff. He has a web company called SNS Computers. I'm going to go see if he can teach me how to do a website. So, and I'm not a tech person. I used to make fun of my wife in college for going to this thing called the email lab. I literally called her Mr. Email. I'm like, why don't you just call people? What is this email crap? And so I went to Glenn and said, hey, we're going to do this business. I want to do a website. What do I do? He goes, you need Adobe Page Mill. Here's the software to put in your computer. Here's a book on it. And within 3 days, I built our first website. And again, not a tech person. I'm still not, but I built it. Outdoor Consignments. We grew it. It went to $1 million in sales within a year. We had a physical location after 6 months. And then long story short, I left radio after 4 years, very successful career of advertising sales, made a lot of money to go run our boat and RV dealership, which at that point had grown to about 20 employees and about 5 million in sales. From 2003 until 2008, grew that to 15 million a year in annual sales. Learned a lot about digital marketing on a complete accident. There's actually a video. I won't tell the whole story, but
I watched the
literally,
the cliff notes.
Yeah. The cliff notes are, we had Glenn, the guy who, this is how I learned digital marketing. So Glenn had every month, $1,000, $2,000 bill. Our computers always had a virus. And I'm like, Glenn, I like you, but are you planning these so that we pay you every month? Because if you are, just let me pay the damn bill and don't plan them anymore. He's like, no, I would never do that, Matt. I'm like, okay, I didn't think so, but why are they cost? He's like, well, let's do this. Every employee, at that point, we're up to like 40 employees. Every employee is going to get a login when they go to their computer, name and their password, and it will track their usage of the internet because somebody keeps downloading viruses. So we did that. He said, you got to disclose that you're watching everything. So we did. Everybody knew it. About a month later, we figured out where the virus was coming from, a whole nother story, not PG. But about a month after that, he comes back with this book. I wish I still had it. It was a huge binder, and it was like the encyclopedia. I'm like, what is that? He goes, that's the usage of every employee categorized by where they went. And my dad's like, we're firing everybody. They should be working. And I look at it and I'm like, well, no, they're on fishing.com, bassboatcentral.com, Arctic Cat ATVs. It was before social media. It was forums. I mean, you remember back in the 04, 05, 06, there was no Facebook groups. It was chat rooms.
Facebook wasn't created until like 2007, right?
Yeah. And so it was all chat rooms.
Yeah.
And so all of our employees were on chat rooms chatting about what we do for a living. We hired this guy to sell fishing boats because he's a hardcore fisherman and he's on a fishing forum. How do I take advantage of it? So I started reaching out to these platforms. I found about 20 of them and said, and ironically, all of them had the same deal, $500 a year. You're the exclusive for your area for that brand, and you can't sell. You got to have a link to your website and your signature, and you got to have your correct name and your logo, because they wanted it to be clear that, hey, this is Sean from Plapp's Pro Outdoors. Here's their website. Here's their logo, and you can't sell. You got to inform. And so I went to all these places, got sponsorships with a bunch of them. And because to me, $500 a year, I'm like, that's nothing. We were spending $300,000 a year on radio and TV and boat shows. And so I went to all these websites, went to all my salespeople and said, hey man, I got a problem, Sean. And Sean's like, what do you mean? I go, well, we got a sponsorship on this website called fishing.com. He's like, yeah, I'm on it I'm on it every day. And I'm like, oh, you are? He didn't know what I knew. I'm like, well, I need a favor. You can't be Fat Sean 74 anymore. You got to be Sean, your last name, Weeda. You got to have our company name. You got to have the website. And you can't sell. So whenever somebody asks a question about Yamaha motors, you got to get on there and answer an honest question and answer about how the Yamaha motor should perform, the boat drag, the prop, the performance, all of that stuff. And when you do that, it'll bring the right attention to us. Well, flash forward 6 months later and 20 employees doing this all day, every day, we had become the number one authority on complete accident on Google, well, I didn't know what Google was then, but on the internet for anything to do with outdoors. And so like Yamaha, I went to a conference and Ben Jarrett from Yamaha Marine Group, that was the number one marketing guy there at the time for the US, comes up and he's like, Matt, I got to show you this thing called Google. And he types in Yamaha 4-stroke motors and Plapp's Pro Outdoors comes number one, Yamaha's number two. And I was like, I didn't do it. And he's like, well, I think you did, but show me how to do it. You're not in trouble. And so at that point, I figured out what SEO was. I got back into enjoying marketing more, started a marketing consulting firm. We got 2008 kicked our butt. We got out of the boat business. You know exactly what happened to restaurants in 2020. 2008 was the same thing when you were in the luxury boat RV, except there was no money. There was no PPP. There was no idle loans. Everybody went out of business, except for the car manufacturers because the government propped them up. And so started my consulting firm, got up to where 2015 we had 34 clients from 31 industries. We had 9 restaurants. And later that year, 2015, 16, I realized we had a niche that we should probably focus on one thing that we just couldn't. I did something for a car dealer and it didn't transfer to a restaurant, but I did something for Hofbrauhaus Newport and I could pick up the exact same thing and do it for Quaker Steak and Lube Coleraine, and then do it for Spoon and Cellar and do it for this place. And so we decided to alter the company from just 2 of us. And over the last 6 years, we've changed from a marketing firm local to clients to a national restaurant company. The name's America's Best Restaurants. We have our first Sprinter van that's wrapped right now, getting wrapped today, that starts traveling. We're in Charlotte, Atlanta, Concord, Greensboro, Tampa next week. And then after that, the goal is a new van every few months, where there's 6 next year and there's 50 in 3 years. And we help restaurants find, our tagline is, we help restaurants find frequent customers. Because I think that's what makes or breaks restaurants. It doesn't, Matt Plapp goes to the Eagle in downtown Cincinnati once every 6 months. That's not where they're going to survive. They're going to survive, if Matt Plapp comes every week or every 2 weeks. And so our mission is to help restaurants find frequent customers.
Dude, I think there's so many, like, listening to your story, there's reminding me so many examples of what we're doing here at Restaurant Unstoppable and what I want to be doing at Restaurant Unstoppable that you've either done or you're doing now. And I think there's just a lot of overlap, and that just gets me really excited. Specifically, just this idea of forums, of inviting people who are there to add value. And that's kind of exactly what we're doing in the network. But the people that we're inviting aren't people who are coming to us and saying, hey, I want to be a part of this. Like, you have to be invited because you refer to me organically. So like, I love that idea of just adding value to a group of people. It just, that kind of struck a vein. And then obviously you got this RV thing going on, these Sprinter vans, and I've been wanting to do that for years. So I'm a little jealous, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm super excited for you, man. And I think we have a pretty good idea of who you are. One of the things I'm curious about is why restaurants. What was going on in your life that you had all these different verticals you could go towards? What was it about the restaurant industry that really drew you in?
So for me, what got me in the restaurants, number one, I grew up around restaurants. My dad had an insurance company. And growing up, the joke in our family was I didn't think my mom could cook because we ate out every meal, because my dad had a large insurance company and most of his clients, he had restaurants, car dealers. And so he ate out at restaurants every lunch, every dinner. It was networking. The joke was when we would show up at a restaurant, we would get seated, walk to our table, and my dad would be nowhere to be seen for 20 minutes because he would walk by a table and talk to somebody. And that's why he was there. So I grew up eating at a lot of restaurants. What I've always enjoyed about restaurants, the original tagline for America's Best Restaurants, the consumer media side of our company, was helping you find places that make you smile. Because to me, when I go to a restaurant, when I go to Penn Station down here, when I'm having a bad day and I get a Mountain Dew and a big cheesesteak, it's to make me smile because, man, it makes my day better. I enjoy it. When I'm celebrating my son getting his driver's license and we go there, it makes me smile. I think restaurants bring that to it. That's one thing I love, dining in restaurants. And so the other aspect of it was when I looked at all the businesses we dealt with, those 31 industries we dealt with at our agency, had car dealer, chiropractor, different weight loss, physical rehab, commercial construction, air conditioning, plumbing, you name it. We had all that. nobody liked any of the stuff. Like nobody actually really want, like I've got one of my clients is here right now putting air conditioners in, $37,000 to put new air conditioners in our building we bought. I really didn't want to spend $37,000, but I really do want to spend $30 today. Now I'm going to go to Penn Station. Now I'm hungry, but that was to me was that people, most of the clients we dealt with, people really didn't want to make that purchase. It had to happen. Whereas the restaurant part, you choose to go there. And what I also liked about it was the standpoint, the part of it that it's repeatable. That like the car dealership, we did awesome work. Our client had 46 locations. We crushed it for them on digital marketing. The problem was people buy a car every 3 or 4 years. My biggest value proposition that we are really good at is getting people's information. How do I convince Eric to give me his gender, his visit frequency, his phone number, his email, his birthday? If I can get that information, I can create a relationship and have conversations more often and get more business. But a car dealer, it's every 4 years. And I found out really quickly, we were huge, one of the biggest social media people on car dealers with Jeff Weiler. We were doing some stuff nobody was doing a long time ago. But the consumers, I mean, they didn't really care. They don't want to follow a car dealer. But a consumer does want to follow Hofbrau's Newport. That's their beer. That's where they get a liter of Dunkel every Friday night. And that's where they go and do the chicken dance and have dinner with their family. They want to follow that. They want to be engaged. And so when I looked at our business, and I have a coach called Billy Jean out in California, Billy Jean Shaw, I hired him in 2016. He's like, what do you enjoy? What makes you smile? But also, what do you see the opportunity? I said, I see opportunity in restaurants. And this isn't a knock on restaurants, but restaurants suck at knowing who does business with them. I just left a place called Crescent Paper Tube. It's a huge company here in Northern Kentucky. They make paper straws, but they also make the paper pillar straw, that hold up bridges. They're a huge company. They created the Pringles can apparently years ago. It's a 102-year-old company. But I'm sitting there talking to him, and he asked the same question about restaurants. And I said, I want you to imagine this. Imagine if every time a company bought product from Crescent Paper Tube that you did not ask for their name, phone number, or email. And you hoped they came back. And to me, that's restaurants. Most restaurants, I think the stats that we've seen internally and I've seen nationally, about 85% of people who walk through the doors, the biggest form of trust is somebody giving you their credit card, in my opinion, outside of maybe marriage. But the biggest form of trust consumers is they found your business, they made the effort to come in, and they gave you their money. That's the person you want to know. And most restaurants don't. So when I looked at opportunity 5 years ago, I said, well, who's not good? Car dealers are great at it. You buy a car, you have to give them your information. You inquire about a car on their website, you're giving their information because you want to know about that car. Restaurants, the complete opposite. It's like, hey, like Walt's Hitching Post is a restaurant I use it's in my new book coming out. I use it all the time in examples. The owner actually called me one time. It was funny. I get a call out of nowhere. I had told this story in Coffee Emporium downtown. The person sitting behind me knew the owner of Walt's and called him and said, hey, get a hold of this Matt Plapp guy. He's just saying you guys don't ever invite him to the restaurant. They misunderstood the conversation. My conversation was I go to Walt's 3 or 4 times a year with my wife and kids. It costs $250 every time we go. If they marketed to me more often via email, text, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, I might be there 10 times a year. And so like my book, I've got a little scale that's called 100 Matts. And I said, imagine if Matt Plapp comes 4 times a year at 250, that's $1,000 in sales. I don't drive by their restaurant ever. It's not near my house. It's not near my work. It's kind of in between stuff. I never see their marketing because, to be quite honest with you, they're not very good at marketing, in my opinion. They don't have my email address. They have my cell phone number because when you call, make a reservation, you have to give them your number. They call you back the day of your reservation to confirm. They've never texted me. All they got to do, they have implied consent. All they got to do is say, hey, Matt, thanks for your visit today. How was it? Rate us 1 to 5. And then a week later, send me a picture of like, bro, here's a steak. It's calling your name. I'd be back again. And so my book, I said, imagine if Matt Plapp came back 4 more times. That's $1,000 in revenue. That is incremental profit. That is $700 in profit because the only cost you incurred by me coming again on your invitation was the food cost. The staff are there, the mortgage is there, the electric's there, the lights there, the paper straws are there. All that stuff is there. Why aren't you doing it? In my book, I have a little scale that says, what if there's 100 mats out there? And I got one little mat and I got 100. That's $100,000 in revenue for Walt's Itching Post. That's $70,000 in profit. That's the owner's bonus. That's the manager's bonus. But the simple reason they do not have my information, and on a consistent basis, they do not invite me to the restaurant.
Wait, so the only reason, say that one more time. So you said they have all of your information. The only reason why they don't use it is what?
They have my cell phone. I have no clue. A lot of restaurants,
they have the habits around constantly.
Higher end, so you got a couple reasons I find, Mark, why people don't use the data. Number one, they just don't know how.
Yeah.
Why didn't I wrap my van that's going out? I don't know how to wrap it.
Yeah.
I mean, could I figure it out? Possibly. Would it look like crap? Yeah. Why don't I change the oil in my car? I don't know how to change oil in my car. Now, granted, I have a unique car, and it'd probably be crazy. I'd blow it up, but I don't know how to change oil in the car. So I hire somebody to change the oil in my car. Could I probably go on YouTube and figure it out? Yeah. So you look at restaurants. Why don't they why isn't Walt texting me? Number one, they're too busy working in their business versus on it. Number two, they don't have somebody in the restaurant in charge of doing it. Number three, they probably don't really know how to do it. And number four, they might have this, I'm a higher end restaurant. I don't need to invite people. That's bullcrap to me. I think every business does.
Yeah.
Every business needs to ask for business. I call them RGAs, revenue generating activities. What are the activities you do every day, whether you're a paper salesman selling straws, you're a restaurant, whether you're a server? What do you do every day that asks people for money?
All right, we are back, and we're going to get into the focus of today's conversation, which is using your brand to develop a database, or using your marketing, I should say, to develop a database of customers. Specifically, we're going to be covering how to leverage the attention your brand is getting to build a database of customers. Once the database is created, how do you automate that database? Then lastly, how do you monetize and make sure you are on the right path with the data you're capturing? So let's start at the top. How are you, how to leverage the attention your brand is getting to build a database? Get into it.
So I'm married now 22 years, with my wife 26. The way that started was I asked her on a date. When I asked her on a date, I got one piece of information, two pieces. I already knew her name, but I got her phone number. That was how I got the next date. And then that's how somehow, I guess, my great charms and amazing looks got the rest of them. But it's the same in the marketing world. You need to look at everything you do from a restaurant standpoint. Advertising should have one goal, and it's not the goal you think. Most restaurants, and actually most businesses in general, whenever they advertise, they ask for business. Think about it. If every time you I went to my wife, or if let's say I didn't know her, I walk in a bar and every woman there, I walk up and I ask for a kiss. I'm going a little deep. Restaurants ask every Facebook post, every Instagram post, every email, every text, all have one thing in common. Here's how you can come give me money. And so I look at it from an opposite standpoint. All of your marketing on the front end should ask one question, but not necessarily ask it, but it should have one goal. How do I get your information? If somebody walks in your restaurant, they should have a very easy way to give you their information and not join our email newsletter. Does anybody want an email newsletter of a restaurant? I don't think they do. I've never wanted one. But if I scan something that says, want to win dinner for a year, want your next sandwich for free, whatever, scan it, get in there. QR codes, luckily, COVID, number one thing that come out of COVID, in my opinion, is the fact that consumers now know what the heck a QR code is. I've been trying to do it for like 8 years, and people thought, what's this weird barcode thingy? Now they know QR codes. But all of your marketing on the front end, I call it spend to build. You should spend your money and your efforts to build a customer database. Your Facebook post, your Instagram post should be driving people to take a action to give you their information. Your website should have very intrusive tactics to give you their information. Your cashier, before your cashier gets money, the most important thing isn't the fact they paid you. You want them to pay you again. Hey, Rory, that burrito you got, you get it pretty often, don't you? Yeah, I love it. You want your next one for free? Yeah. Do me a favor, scan this QR code, answer 5 questions. Your next visit, you get a free burrito. Snap, they do it. Now, if you do what I had one time, the lady goes, you don't want to join our newsletter program, do you? I'm like, no. So everything you do has to not sell food, needs to get data. A website. We had a web designer, one of our brands we work with. There's 17 locations. We work with 8 of them. Higher end restaurant, not high end, but higher end. And we gave them a tool for the website, a pop-up. Pretty simple what we do. It's a pop-up. It comes up, want your next steak free, click this button, answer 5 questions. The web designer calls us. I don't like this. I'm not doing it. I said, why? It's too intrusive. What the hell's the point of marketing? Like we're trying to get people's attention. And he's like, I'm not doing it. So I call the client. I go, hey, is the web designer like, he's like your vendor, right? Like, yeah. I said, do you trust my advice or his? He was like, trust yours. He's an IT guy. Good. Call him up and make sure he puts this code on there because he's fighting it. So they did it. And we looked at the stats. The restaurants who didn't do it, this was an experiment with one lady's 2 stores. She had 740 people on average that came to the site after that for 3 months that gave their information. The other stores, nobody. And so my comment was, that's 740 people now. And we know they know the brand, they're coming to the website. We have it set up that if they're in the restaurant, we ask them a question. Hey, are you at home or in the restaurant? I'm in the restaurant. We don't give them something while they're in the restaurant. We give it to them later. It's delayed. If they're at home, great. Here's something to get you off your sofa and come to the restaurant. But the reason being, that traffic going to the website, we want to capture them. So my biggest thing is I would tell everybody, wherever you have attention, your goal shouldn't be to get people to come eat food. It should be them to give you their information. Once you get their information, then it's game on. Then it's a text, it's an email, it's a retargeting campaign on Google, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram to indoctrinate them and get them to come to the restaurant. So that's that first part of the equation there. And to end that, I'm at Taco Lulu in Chicago last week. A guy named Michael Standecki. We're up at his restaurant and I'm interviewing him for my podcast. We had the van up there. We went up there to my dad to a Cubs game, surprise, and that was pretty fun. But we interviewed Michael in his restaurant and he's got stuff everywhere asking for people to join this program. And he pulls out of his pocket this stack of business cards. The business cards are not the restaurant's information. It's how to get your next burrito for free, period. He's like, I don't need them to know my information business card. I need them to give me theirs. Then I can give them mine.
So
and he's like,
big lesson. So the big lesson here is you're looking to establish a relationship. And I feel like that's a different way to look at it that is less intrusive, right? But what you're looking to do is open a channel of communication. You want to continue the conversation for future opportunities. And that's the same thing what you're doing when you're getting a date. You see this beautiful person, you want more of that beautiful person. How do you get more of that beautiful person?
Yep.
You open a channel of communication. So there's an opportunity in the future. And that's all you're doing is opening a channel of communication. You're building a relationship, right?
Yep.
You need to communicate to have a relationship, and you need a channel of communication. So the big takeaways as far as how to get this information that I pulled from you, the 2 ways you like to get the information is on a pop-up on the website where you offer something, where you're adding value in exchange for value. And the other thing that you have your clients do, it sounds like in person. And when they order something, and I think, is there like a ritual words that you're using every time somebody comes? Hey, is this your first time? Like, are you looking, like, what are you doing? Like, what's the dialogue look like when that person walks into your restaurant? Say you're doing this from day one, like, and if you open your restaurant and you're doing this from day one, what's the dialogue? How's the conversation look to get that information?
So there's 5 ways to get people's information. Number 1, the website. And there's probably more, but this is the most important in my mind. The number 1 is the website. Number 2 is your current data. A lot of businesses have a way they're getting, like online ordering. Online ordering has become a lot bigger the past 18 months than it was the prior 10 years. And people aren't using it. People are getting bits and pieces of data, use it and get more of it. Number 3 is online listings, Yelp, TripAdvisor, Google My Business. Number 4 is in-store. And number 5 is your social media. So you got your website, your data, your online listings, your in-store, your social media. All of those need to have, and I got told by a marketing director the other day, this was a rude term, I shouldn't use it, but I said, all of them should have a bribe. Sir, we don't bribe our customers. I'm like, well, it's a term. I'm not being serious. How can you get somebody to give you what you want? Your main goal should be to get their information. How can you do it? The best verbiage, 100%, is something that's irresistible. A free burrito. If somebody bought a burrito and let's say, for example, I come to your restaurant, Eric, and I buy a burrito and I don't use my phone because you have a VIP program, right away when they don't use your phone, they're not in it. Hey, Matt, I noticed you use your phone today on your order. Are you in our VIP program? No, I'm not. You want your next burrito for free? Yeah. Do me a favor. Scan this code. It's going to ask you 5 questions. You're going to get exclusive perks from our restaurant. People love to be VIPs. They love perks. And what also it does, it frames it differently. I don't want Mike's restaurant couponing all the time. Couponing is not what you need to do. I don't go to restaurants to eat because I have a coupon. But if a restaurant says, hey, here's something for free, I don't expect something for free all the time. Panera Bread, back during the pandemic, I always went there, got coffee in the morning. Yep.
Time out. I think that's the issue, is something for free. It's not. You're not giving that burrito away. You're trading it for the valuable asset.
Barter. Yeah. You're bartering it. You know, yeah. I went to Panera and I walked in and I didn't have that coffee club thing they have. I have it now. I didn't have it. And I walked in and I walk up and she's like, hands me my cup before I give her money. She goes, it's on the house today, Matt. I go, how come? You're a great customer. We appreciate you coming during the pandemic. Thank you. Got my coffee, left. I don't expect to get a free coffee the next visit, but if every time, like my auto mechanic, Ted, when I take my car there, he gives me 10% off all the time. I'm like, Ted, you don't have to. I'm coming to your place to get my car fixed. Stop giving me 10% off. You're killing your margins. But he's got it. People brainwashed. People, hey, I get 10% off every time, right? Yeah. The restaurant part of it, you need to have it to where you don't want restaurants to continually discount, because people don't come to your restaurant for discount. They come to your restaurant because it makes them smile and they enjoy it. But if you can get their information by, on the front end, trading a free burrito, a free cookie, a free dessert, a free appetizer for their information, and then down the road, occasionally you throw them a bone. Hey, Matt, it's Menu Mondays. We got a new menu item. Bring this in to try out one of our 3 menu items for free. Oh, sweet. I try something new. I come on a Monday. I never come on a Monday. So the biggest way is to take the easiest route. Some places, I had a guy the other day who contacted us and became a client, and his original offer he wanted to offer was 50% off an entree with purchase of 2 drinks and an entree. I'm like, Jesus, dude, this sounds like a test. Like, I got to buy an entree. I got to buy 2 drinks to get 50% off the other entree. I'm like, you're worried about the profit margin on the first visit. Don't be worried about the profit margin on the next 100 visits. And the way you can ensure the next 100 visits is by having Matt Plapp's name, phone number, birthday, and visit frequency. Because the one thing you asked also, Eric, which I think is key, and this is the most important part, if you're going to get people's information, the number one piece of information to get outside of obviously their phone number, right before that, have you been to the restaurant before? Yes or no? If they say yes, how frequent do you come? Like, we phrase it this way. We say, please answer the questions below to join the program. Answer which question fits you best. I've never been to the restaurant before. I come every week. I come every couple of weeks. I rarely come. I haven't been in a while. Because we want to know if you're new, frequent, or lost. If you're new, we want to indoctrinate you. Here's our menu. Here's directions. Here's hours. Here's what you need to know. If you're frequent, high five, brother. We appreciate you. You're what keeps the lights on. Thank you. We love you. If you're lost, it's a hug, man. Hey, a little hug, little bear hug emoji. Like, hey, bro, we miss you. Please come back. What do we got to do to get you back?
Yeah.
And then at that point, you get their phone number, which is the best piece of data. Then you get their email address, and you get their birthday, and you'll have a declining part. Like, we see 92% of people that start this process will give us their frequency and phone number. 88 will give us frequency, phone number, and email. And 82 will give us frequency, phone number, email, and birthday.
Yep.
And we're good.
And I just did a whole workshop with Zach Oates from Ovation, specifically talking about why SMS marketing is so valuable. So if you want to get caught up, and just to kind of, we don't need to dive into that now, but yes, SMS or phone number over email any day, in my opinion, but also get the email if you can, right? Get it all if you can.
Get as much data. Well, I ask you this question, Eric. I'm married. How often do you think my wife emails me?
Zero. I'm not married, so I don't know how.
Yeah, my wife never emails me, but she texted me. She literally texted me this morning. She gets picky on some stuff. She texted me this morning a picture of our back porch, of the chair that I didn't scoot back in. She's real picky on her little back porch. I go out there and rearrange everything. And she's like, she sent a text to me, my daughter, my son, and my daughter's boyfriend, and said, hey, which one of you jerks screwed up the back porch? And I'm like, it's me. Have fun. She didn't email it to me. She texted it because I'm going to get the alert. I'm going to see it. The reason I bring that up is text is more important than anything else because it's more intrusive. People see it. People use it more often. My wife doesn't email me. My daughter doesn't email me. My son doesn't. My dad texted me today. We do a Fire with Dad interview for Thursdays at 3:00. I interview my dad for 15 minutes, talk business. He texted me 20 minutes ago. Are we doing Fire with Dad today? He didn't email me. So text is, I did an interview with Zach Oates a couple weeks ago. Zach's awesome. Ovation's a great product. Yeah. And I agree completely. Text is the piece of data you're going to get through to people easier, more often. But it's also a piece of data that you can't send something every week that's irrelevant to the consumer. Hey, check out our new menu. Hey, it's bike night. Hey, the NBA starts this Saturday. It's got to be a very well thought out reason, because if you keep texting me, I'm going to opt out unless you send me value.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. I think we can move to the second bullet right now, which is once you have this data and you've created this list, how do you automate the data? How do you automate getting the data? Is that what you're talking about?
Two things: automate getting the data, but also, like, I don't know if you're asking a question of them or me, but I look at it from automating the data of getting it, but also automate the communication. Because what you don't want to have, like, you remember the old fishbowl in the restaurant, drop your business card in here for a chance for a free lunch. And then you got the person in the back of the restaurant office, which I saw one here today where the guy was sitting on a milk crate with a laptop on his lap. You don't want him in there entering business card emails into a spreadsheet. Yep. So you want to automate the capturing of it, which is easy. There's so many things you can do, from, getting it in Facebook Messenger. We're finishing developing our software right now, Database Dynamite, which is out there, but we use it exclusively. But there's different things out there like that. There's landing pages. Facebook Messenger is a great place. Automate getting it, but then automate the sequence. I signed up for a restaurant in Phoenix here today's email. The CEO asked me for advice. We had a meeting. He said, and I do a deep dive. I don't look at much. I have a conversation and find out. I do like a diagnosis. Biggest problem in business is a lot of consultants go in with their decision, what they're selling you on the first meeting. How many times you go to a doctor, you walk in, doctor, go, hey, we need to look at your knee. I'm here for my shoulder. No, we're going to go knee. That's what marketers in my business do. And I told this guy, he's like, hey, have you looked at our stuff? I haven't looked at anything. How come? I'm like, I don't know what you need. So we looked at everything. He told me his story, their loyalty program, their app, their website, their sales, their locations. I said, cool. Let's reconvene next week. Let me go look at some stuff.
Yeah. And that's something, like, first seek to understand, then seek to be understood. It's like one of the biggest lessons. Just ask. People will tell you exactly what they need and exactly what they want. And that holds true in all aspects of life. When you meet people, just listen. Just ask questions, just listen. And they will give you so much information that you can use to hold it, whether it's just holding a good conversation or whatever it is. Awesome stuff. So what are the steps of actually, you said it's so easy, the things you can do to automate the process, but get it granular.
So on that restaurant's, one of the things I found was I went to their website. I signed up for their email. They had at the very bottom, mistake, signed up for it. Guess what happened? Nothing. It went somewhere. So when people sign up for something, it needs that every software, whether it's Constant Contact, MailChimp, Drip, ManyChat, everything has the ability to automate a bounce back. Hey, Matt, we got your subscription to our email list. We appreciate it. Here's XYZ. Campaigns. Have campaigns built. Like, there's a program called Drip. I don't know if you guys have heard it or not. It's a higher end email. It's a little more expensive, but you can go in Drip and you can build out a campaign that says, when somebody enters this funnel, send them this email on day 1, this text message on day 10, this email on day 30. Have it built out, have automation built out so that you as a restaurant owner don't have to go in there all the time and do stuff, because that's what's going to happen. The minute you don't automate it, it doesn't happen. We have a process when somebody becomes a client of our company, it sends an email that says, send them their welcome box. It's automated, because every time somebody signed up, somebody had to remember to send the welcome box, it wouldn't happen. But they get an email and a text that says, send the welcome box. They print it off and send the welcome box. So in your restaurant, when you have people opting in for text or email, in Constant Contact, in ManyChat, in Drip, create campaigns that if somebody tells you they're a new customer, hey, Matt, we appreciate you signing up. Have messaging about the new customer. If they tell you they're a frequent, have messaging. A frequent customer doesn't need directions and hours of operation. They know where you are. They know about you. A new customer needs to know who you are. So that's another element of those campaigns. The automation, Eric, is segment people. Don't put everybody in the same bucket. Put them in different buckets so you can have different conversations.
So my follow-up question is, what are the different campaigns that every restaurant should have, and what are the best segments that every restaurant should have?
So the segmentation, new, frequent, and lost is the most important, hands down. If you want, because that's a completely different conversation. I go to Barleycorns every week down here. You know, Ryan, one of my coworkers, might not ever go to Barleycorns. The marketing message we get on day one when we sign up for something is going to it's going to resonate differently. The second one, if you can get it, is male or female. How you talk to me versus how you talk to my wife is completely different. What gets my wife's attention color-wise, headline, subject line is different than what gets my attention. Outside of that, you want to make sure from a frequency standpoint that you have something at least for 30 days, because you don't want to have it for 12 months because you can't logistically think about what you want to automate for 12 months. But if you have something when somebody signs up that you get their information, they join your email program, they join your text program, whatever you have, that you have something set up that this is what they get week 1, this is what they get week 2, this is what they get week 3, this is what they get week 4. It allows you to kind of talk to them. If they're a new customer, week 1 is an offer to really get them in there, and directions and hours. Week 2 is highlighting your appetizers. Week 3 is, your menu items. Week 4 is something different. After that, it's different. The last thing you want to do from a marketing standpoint is talk to them about you only, which is going to be next. Because the only thing I want to talk about is there's a difference. I'm a fan of restaurants. 60% of your marketing should not be about you. 60% of your marketing should be off the customers. But early on that first month, it should be about you and the restaurants you're trying to tell them. And I saw where Mike asked a question about Messenger. We still use Messenger. We use Messenger hundreds of thousands of times a day to gather data.
Facebook Messenger,
Facebook and Instagram. So we automate all of our data capture through Messenger. We're in the process of, in the next 6 months, moving to our own platform because we've gotten so big and it makes sense to have our own, where it's going to have a lot of similarities, but it'll be our own platform, database dynamite, that we'll use exclusively for our clients. But right now, everything we do goes through Messenger. So if somebody's in the restaurant, scans a QR code, it opens up Facebook Messenger and says, "Welcome, Matt, to get started. Click below, join VIP." They click it. How often do you come to the restaurant? It has those questions: email or cell phone, opt in for texting, email, birthday. Here's 4 irresistible offers.
As you're engaging with them on this automated process with Messenger, you're also automating the data collection process, so you can segment them. Yep. So when they're going through this process, you're collecting data and filing them to where they belong based off of who they are, yep, which is super powerful. So those segments, again, new customer, frequent, lost. Yep. I was curious. So if you have somebody who comes into your funnel, they're a new customer, right? How do you know that they become lost? Is there a way that, like, if they don't come in after so many months?
Yeah. So
is it tied to your POS? Like, how do you know to move one person from one sequence to the next sequence?
It all depends on how you're using the data. So in our end, we have a redemption process that if somebody, I was meeting yesterday with a guy named Patrick Harder, who has 9 restaurants. We talked about this. Every week of the month, we have a campaign out. Let's forget about when people sign up. Let's say 3 months down the road. Every week of the month, the first week of the month, we have a marketing campaign that goes out to new customers. The second week of the month, we have a campaign that goes to frequent. The third week of the month, we have a campaign that goes to lost. The fourth week, everybody. The way somebody stays in new in our system is they told us they were new and they've not redeemed a promotion. We give them 4 irresistible offers on the front end. The typical restaurant: a free appetizer, a free dessert, a buy one, get one free lunch item, a buy one, get one free dinner item. It covers the bases. Somebody looks at those 4 offers, they have a path to walk in the restaurant. If after 90 days you told me you were new and you've not used one of those 4, you are a new customer still, and we have different reactivation. On the lost customer, if somebody tells us they're lost, but then comes in and uses those promotions, they use 2 of them, they move into the frequent world. They're still lost if they only use 1, because I gave them 4 irresistible offers. If you only use one, more than likely you're still not a frequent. If I get you to use 2 in a short period of time, I'm going to market to you as if I've got you coming back in. And the same with the new. If you use 2 of those, I move you there. And so that's how we segment that to know that conversation. because that's important. I was talking to Patrick yesterday. We were asking, he's like, Matt, because he's somebody I can bounce extreme stuff off of. I said, let me ask you this, Patrick. He's got a handful of brands. One of them's a Dickey's barbecue restaurant. He's got 2 of them, 3 of them coming up. I said, so let's look at it this way. When people sign up, they get a free barbecue sandwich, right? And that's one of the 4 offers. Yeah. So let's just say we're 120 days down the road and they've not used any of those promotions. Brand new, not used them. I want to send them an email or text and go, hey, here's 2 free sandwiches. And then a month later, here's 3 free. Because at some point, I either want them off the list or walking in. And I said, worst case scenario, somebody walks in and gets their 10 free sandwiches. You got them to walk in.
Yeah.
Like, why weren't they walking in? I said that sometimes it just takes extraordinary ideas. If you don't know if you've seen this book or not, Marketing Outrageously, it's a great book. It talks about sometimes you got to do crazy stuff to get people to take an action.
Yeah. Really, I think it's just the action is not come in so much as reestablish a relationship with me, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It's not because I think because you're not looking for one transaction. You're looking to trigger a series of transactions thereafter, right?
Yep.
Because you're looking to bring them in to get them into a certain funnel.
Yep.
Have we gotten into how to monetize and make sure you're on the right path with the data you're capturing? I think and if there's a little bit of overlay, I apologize.
A little. Yeah. So one thing in there with regards to monetizing, that's the tricky part. Like my book that's coming out, there's a part of that talks about that. Like monetizing your database, you have to have some type of software, whether it's a loyalty or an app, you got to have something. The main reason we like to, like on our end, there's 2 reasons we love to have that part where people can redeem an offer on the front end. Number one, it tells me we're on the right path. There was a restaurant called Biker Jim's in Denver, Colorado, which you haven't been there before, Eric, you need to go. It's crazy gourmet hot dogs, sausages, unbelievable. But Biker Jim's was a client of ours, probably 4 years ago. He had been on, he was friends with Anthony Bourdain. He had been on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. So he had all this publicity. Everybody knew Biker Jim's. Really cool place. But it's not a place you frequent. And if you don't live near his restaurant, which was down by the baseball stadium at Coors Field, you're not going there very often. So we ran some marketing for him. We had like 2,800 people that joined this program. And we had 2% on the front end come in, which is terrible in my world. I like 15, 20, 30%, 40, 50, whatever. It depends on the vertical of restaurant. But he had 2%. I said, dude, this is terrible. He said, why? I said, that means 98% of the people we've given a free hot dog to have not walked in. We're on the wrong path. We got to readjust. We have the wrong demographics. We have the wrong targeting. We have the wrong messaging, whatever. The other aspect of it is it allows you to optimize your online advertising. Big part of what we do, about 50% of what we teach our clients to do is in-store and 50% is online. Facebook algorithm, their algorithm is built off of the right people and the right data. So if I get 1,000 people to see a Facebook ad, and of those 600 join a program, and of those 5 walk in the restaurant and spend money, I don't have enough data to give Facebook to find the right people. But if all of a sudden I know that 300 of those 600 walked in and spent money, and I give that back to Facebook and say, hey, Facebook, you were targeting 1,000 people, like this funnel behind me. You were targeting 1,000 people. We got 800 to do something. We got 300 to walk in and spend money. Re-optimize the top of that funnel from these 300 people's data. That's the best part of it. So when you're figuring out how to monetize what you're doing, that's where you've got to have something in there. Yeah. You've got to have a piece of software. You've got to have an app. You got to have a loyalty program. You got to have something like we do. But it's a key element because it makes sure you're on the right path.
It's kind of like what we were saying earlier. First seek to understand, then seek to be understood. So when you're first starting, the top of your funnel is, hey, how are you today? This is not literally what your top of your funnel is, but it's, hey, how are you today? Oh, I'm in a great mood, or I'm in a bad mood because blah, blah, blah. You rejigger the funnel and be like, hey, if you're in a bad mood because of these reasons, are you interested in this solution? Right. And then that is geared and retargeted for that demographic. It's just get information. The more you get, but you I guess the big lesson that I'm hearing from you is you constantly have to tweak and readjust the message based off of what data you're collecting.
If you keep putting bad gas in your car's going to run like crap.
Yeah.
We've all had gas or you all had a time we put gas in our car and we're like, what the hell's happening? What's going on here? If you keep going back to that gas station and they keep having bad gas, your car's going to run like crap. Well, the same thing. If you keep putting the wrong people if for Biker Jim's, I would have kept putting those same people and getting 2%. I'm wasting money acquiring people's data. Whereas all of a sudden I can see, like I had a client the other day, I was looking at 38% of the people that a place called Cup Bop. It's a Korean barbecue joint on the West Coast. 38% of their stores, people are walking in the restaurant within a month. It's like, holy crap. I mean, that's optimized. So we know we've got the right people. But then after that, the part I want to get to next, Eric, I think we're talking about next is how to use the data, is how to use it correctly. Because if every week you send emails to, like, imagine if every week I went home to my wife and I talked about how awesome Matt Plapp was, talked about my Kramer picture behind my desk, my new orange Jordans, how I did this. If I always talked about Matt Plapp, my wife would eventually not be a wife anymore. Restaurants have that problem. If you look at a restaurant, if you were to watch a restaurant open up day one and do, let's say, email and text marketing, and you watch them, what I call puke on their customers for 52 weeks, their open rates and their click rates go down every week because you've slowly gotten rid of people because they do not care that you have buffalo wings 52 weeks a year. They know you have buffalo wings. That's why they come to your restaurant. But if you tweak that and you have, like in our world, I tell our team, only about 30 to 40% of what we tell customers in email and text every week should be about the restaurant. One of our biggest things happening right now, this Sunday is Father's Day. We've got hundreds of campaigns directing consumers via email and text, Facebook and Instagram to go to a specific Facebook post and leave a memory of them and their father and how they, and something about their dad. We had a client of ours, I'm actually visiting next Monday in Concord, North Carolina, called Sweet Taters. Her Mother's Day promotion, same thing. He had like 250 people leave a comment on a Facebook post about their memory of their mom, a picture of their mom and 2 or 3 paragraphs about their mom. That was all from an email that was sent, an email and a text. It went email, then text, that went out to about 800 women who told us they were frequent customers. The new customers aren't going to engage with you because they're brand new. The lost customers are lost for a reason. But if I get my frequent customers, I have a very unique reason to email my frequent email customer or frequent women something about Mother's Day. They're going to open it. It got like a 40% open rate on the email. Why? Because we didn't tell them about the freaking chicken and dumplings again. We told them about Mother's Day. Hey, mom is important to you. Mom's important to us. Go to Facebook, share a memory about your mother. We're going to give one lucky winner a $100 gift card to use at your liking. And so we got people to engage in email, engage in text, engage in Facebook. It's a whole well-rounded circle. But the one thing we did differently was our nurture content that we sent out. We try to send out about 60% of that stuff every year is about the customer, not about the restaurant.
Okay. So what is the underlining message when it comes to how do you know you're on the right path with the data you're collecting?
How do you know you're on the right path? So number one, if you have a mechanism to see the front end activation, if you can see that 40% or 20%, if you're under 8%, let's say you're a normal fast casual restaurant, casual dining, the closer you get to the bullseye, the harder. Meaning if you're a fine dining ethnic restaurant in downtown Cincinnati, you've got a narrow target. If you're a fast casual burrito brand in the suburbs, you've got a big target. You got a lot of people. But if you can think about, if you have a mechanism with your loyalty, with your app, with whatever, that you can get 15 to 20% of the people that you get their information on a consistent basis to take an action and walk in the restaurant, you're on the right path.
You're looking for a follow-up action after you've captured the data.
Exactly. Within 30.
Are you talking about just a piece of technology that's showing you the data?
A piece of technology that's showing you that person walked in the restaurant.
Gotcha. And what are those pieces? Is it your POS that's referring back to your email marketing campaign that's saying this person came in? Like where are we going to, or is it your email? Like, how do we know? Like where are we getting this data?
It depends on what you use. That's the one thing I say that's the tough part. That if you don't have a piece of technology that you know how to use, it does it. Like we do it. That's what we do for a living, is that we have that piece. If you have an app, your app should be able to tell you, like I was looking at Hothead Burritos as a client of ours. I was looking at their app they had yesterday. I can look and see when people opt into the app and how quickly they walk in the restaurant. And so, because we run a lot of digital ads for them, and we run a couple of things for them, but big thing we run is digital ads to their app. And I can look and see that our Facebook ads got this many people to go to the app, this people to download it, and then this percentage of them came back, and this percentage of them came back again. So you've got that technology piece. I wish there was an easy answer there. You have to have a piece of technology that tells it. It could be your point of sale, could be, I'm guessing, Toast and Square, and those guys have it. I always recommend people, and this sounds self-serving, but find somebody that knows how to do it and hire them to do it for you.
Yeah. So I'm opening a restaurant tomorrow. I haven't done any research. I need to outfit my business, my restaurant with all this technology. Hey, Matt, I don't have the time to research this. Just tell me what to buy right now.
I'm the wrong person to tell you that part. I'd say number one, hire us if you fit our mold.
Okay.
And then I would say, hey, I would reach out to, if you're opening a restaurant tomorrow and you're just now thinking about this, you're going to be closed in 6 months. But I would connect them with friends of mine I have in the business and clients to find all the other technology. Because I mean, there's a lot of point of sales that are great. I mean, I've seen so many advancements in the point of sales. The problem with most of the technology out there, Eric, is that the companies don't use it for you. And that's one thing. We're a little different in that we're not a technology company. Technically, we kind of are. We're a usage company. You know, I always use the example of an orange Lamborghini. Imagine if I gave you, because it's got to be orange. Imagine if I gave Eric an orange Lamborghini, assuming you love exotic cars. Let's say you do. If it's got no gas or tires, it's not going anywhere. If I give you the greatest app from Punch, if I give you Toast and they've got a loyalty component and an email component, I don't think they have text. I think it's got loyalty and the email in there. I give it to you. You have to use it. You have to log in, look at the data, make an assumption based on the data, and then create a campaign to go to that audience. So that the biggest thing is you got to use it. And that's where a lot of things fail. We get clients reach out to us all the time that they've got one client the other day, 78,000 people in an email and text club. They haven't sent anything in 6 months.
Wow.
Because their comment was, we're scared. Like we don't want to send the wrong message. We don't want them all to opt out. I'm like, the worst action is no action, number one.
Yeah.
But then the worst action sometimes also is not an action with a plan. So sit down, look at how to do it. But a lot of businesses, what I would tell, like if you literally were a restaurant opening up, I'd tell them what I would tell myself: hire for as much as you can that you're not an expert at. I'm not an expert at, like our building right now, there's a company putting in keyless entry remote. There's an air conditioning company here. There's going to be people here mowing the grass. There's all this stuff happening. I'm not doing it. I hired it. Could I probably figure it out? Yeah. But my time is better served doing this. Restaurant owners' time is better served leading a team of people to deliver an awesome experience to the consumers. Pay other people to do the rest and go from there. Yeah. But from a marketing standpoint, if I could tell you like what exact point of sale, I wish I could, but there's so many of them.
Yeah, I've loved this conversation. Looking at the time, we're over an hour, and I still want to leave time for the folks that have joined us to join the conversation. All right, we are back, and we're going to give the folks who have joined us today an opportunity to ask Matt some questions, get a little dialogue going. So Matt, Mike, no particular order, but I'm coming to you first. What are some of the thoughts after listening to Matt today?
Hey, Matt, Eric, everybody. I just want to come on. I'm a client of Matt's actually and use their services. So just want to lay it out there, what their team has done for me. I had about 30 Messenger subscribers when I started in March, well over 1,000 now, 20% redemption rate. You look at that and wonder how many of those people brought in a friend with them. I mean, that's a huge percentage, most likely. And their team just takes care of everything for you.
That's 400 people. That's 400 people in March. If the 200 people brought a friend with them, I'm just throwing random numbers out there. Let's say 300 people, but it's 300 new people that walk through your doors who have never been there before.
Right.
Of that 300, how many have come back? Do you know? Do you have that data?
I don't have it in front of me, but their desktop or their app shows you a lot of that.
So Matt, when Mike says this, what's going through your mind?
Mike, what's your last name?
Sweetman.
Oh, my bad. Look for the lighting. Look okay. Yeah. So what goes through my mind? So, number one, I was talking to, it's kind of interesting. We had a conversation with a corporate office the other day of a restaurant brand that apparently the lady is not fans of ours. And we've got 5 restaurants within their brand that have all seen, 3 of them have 70% of the people that have joined the program and walked in were new or lost. And she's like, well, I don't see the value in that. I'm like, you don't see the value in bringing people back or new people in. And we kind of walk through it. And sometimes people are afraid of what they don't know. And if they don't understand this type of marketing, and they're a 40-year marketing vet that sends emails through Constant Contact and sends the same crap every week and doesn't know what happens, they probably don't get what we do. So when I hear what Mike said there, the fact that we know a percentage of those customers on the front end, who they are, there's assumptions you got to make. I wish we could track every visit of every customer ever. That's not our business, because I think if you end up tracking every visit of every customer, you end up having a discounting program long-term. But if you track the front end and make some assumptions, it is what it is. Like I met with a client called Lenny, and this was, 5 years ago. Lenny had like 1,100 people that had walked in 6 months and used his promotion at this restaurant. And just because at that time we had one offer for him. And he's like, well, Matt, how do I know those 1,100 people ever came back? Good question. I said, Lenny, does your food suck? And he looked at me literally shocked, because he's not that personality. He's like, what? I'm like, does the food suck? He goes, well, you just ate. What did you think? I said, oh, the food's pretty damn good. I liked it. I said, I'm sitting with the owner. Does your service suck? And again, he's like, well, no, we got a 4.4 on Yelp and this on Google. I said, cool. Squashes that. I said, atmosphere. This place is pretty cool. I like it. I said, let me ask you a question, Lenny. If I come in your restaurant, if your marketing gets me to give you information and physically walk in here and hand you $40, and your food's good and the service is good and the atmosphere is good, why wouldn't I come back? I said, there's only one logical answer. It's because you didn't ask. And I said, the good thing about it is you're paying us to ask them every week in some manner or form via email, text, Facebook, Instagram, somewhere. I said, so at the end of the day, it's all communication. If my wife went on that first date with me, I mean, she's either crazy or dumb enough to stay with me for 25, 26 years now. But when she went on that first date with me at Morehead State, and by the way, she hit me with a basketball in the face at Mr. Gaddy, so I still hold that against her. But if she went on that first date with me and then I got a second, and then I got a third, and I got a fourth, it's because one of us asked. And so for me, like when he says like the new, the frequent, the lost, understanding who those people are, being able to have a different conversation, but then also know that it's working. Because I use the example with marketers. I get people ask me all the time from a market, hey, I've got this restaurant, I got this client. How do I explain to them? Why don't they like marketing? And I said, I want you to imagine marketing is a house. And Mike has a house. He got a realtor that found it for him. He got a mortgage company that financed. He's got an insurance company that's insuring it. But Mike's never been to the house. At some point, he gets pretty pissed at that house because he's never gotten to go see it. That's what marketing is for most businesses. They pay for it. Somebody told them it's working. Somebody told them it's there, and somebody's taking a check, but they don't see that it's working. So the fact that you can tangibly see 300-400 people walking in the restaurant, and hey, the marketing did its job. They walked in here. My team's got to do its job and deliver an awesome product, an awesome service, and an awesome environment. And then combined, we have to talk to them in a manner that's conducive to them for the next 5 years and get them to eat more food.
Yeah. I think there's a quote I heard, and I'm going to butcher this, but marketing gives you the opportunity. Operations gets you sales, right? Your job with marketing is just to get the opportunity. Then everything else has to be perfect there on out. Operations, culture, all those things. So they come back, right? Yeah. Mike, this is kind of cool. It's not every day that as a restaurant owner or operator, you get to sit across from the CEO or founder of a company that you've invested in. It's kind of the benefit of being a part of the network, that you get to actually talk to these people that you're investing in their services. Anything that you want to tell Matt about the experience, things that you wish you would see, or that you just want to reinforce as things that good experiences you've had, anything. Now's your opportunity to talk to Matt.
I mean, and actually when you're working with them, you do have a weekly call that you're able to get on with them. I don't take advantage of that as much as I probably should, but just as I'm sitting here now, I'm seeing notifications pop up on my iPad of people, people's information. You get a notification from the Facebook business suite and a person's phone number pops up, and that just shows you right there. This is still going on 3 months later. We're still getting people coming through and getting into the system every day. So, and like I said, the beautiful thing about it is they're not one of those companies that you sign up for and then they say, okay, here, you do everything. Their team takes care of everything for you.
Yeah. Awesome. Rory, I want to give you a chance. I know, Rory, you are a savvy marketer yourself, past guest on the show, member of the network. That's how you knew about today's conversation. So feel free to unmute your mic, join the conversation. And Ramon, if there's anything you want to say, obviously the invitation goes to you. If you guys have nothing to say, then I think we can start to wrap things up, but don't be shy. 3.
I was just going to say, I love Matt's quote about you can't deposit likes into the bank. And that's the quote that we talked about, Eric.
Yes.
With our ebook on converting followers into orders. So love that quote, Matt.
Yep.
I can't take claim for it. Nick Ellison of Hofbrauhaus, Newport, Pittsburgh, and Columbus sent it to me back in April of 2015. He's a wealthy older gentleman, not technically sound, had a flip phone. His secretary read his emails off to him and he would read a response back to her, and didn't like digital marketing. Didn't like we were spending $1 million on their behalf, $1.2 million to be specific, on their 3 locations, on radio, TVs, you name it, everything. Cincinnati Reds, Columbus Crew, Pittsburgh Pirates. And the minute I spent $50 on a Facebook ad, it's like I just just gave them 100 bad Yelp reviews. And then one day he sat there, he said, Matt, I can't go to US Bank and deposit likes. You proved to me that somebody from this Facebook thing, somebody that watched our YouTube video, walks in here, buys a liter of beer and gives me money. I'll leave you the hell alone. And that's what spawned our company. I mean, it was April 2015. I'll never forget it, because I'm sitting there thinking, like, where did you come up with, and maybe he heard it somewhere, but like, where did you come up with you can't deposit likes? Like, you know what the hell a like is? But he said it. And I said, so Nick, you're telling me if I can prove to you that that like buys a liter of beer, you'll leave me alone. He's like, I'll leave you alone. I said, cool. 2 weeks is National Pretzel Day, April 26, 2015. We're going to do a half price pretzel and beer cheese offer. Their number 1 P-mix item, $9.99 normally. So we're going to do a Sunday, because Sundays the beer gardens in April weren't rocking yet at any of the locations because it's a little too cold. So and also rainy. So we're going to do a National Pretzel Day promo, half off. The only way they're going to know about it is we emailed 1 email to the entire database of each store, and we did 1 Facebook post with a $50 spend at each store. If it doesn't work, I will leave you alone. And 18 grand in sale. I had the app, the Aloha app they had, I had on my phone, and I could look at the sales. And Monday morning, I knew what we had. It was like $18,300 in sales from that promotion. Just 100%. The people who brought that in attributed 18 grand in sales.
Over what period of time? 1 day?
1 day. And he called me Monday morning. He goes, hey, Matty. Hey, yeah. He goes, looks like we did 18 grand yesterday on that promotion you did. I'll leave you alone. Have fun. And at that point, I said, okay. Now all I do know is that people came in from a Facebook and email. I don't know who, and I don't know how to get them back. And so then that's where we started the process. I went to the NRA show in Chicago, the restaurant show, not the rifle. I had people always ask that question, not in the restaurant business, like, why you got a gun show? But went to the National Restaurant Show in Chicago, and I said, hey, there's booths everywhere. There's people smarter than me here. I want to find a product that'll help me understand the path of people into our database and all that. And it wasn't there. And that's when I literally, end of 2015, all of 16, developed what we have now. And then here we are. Then it was me and Ashley on my team. She's been celebrating her 10th year with me 2 weeks ago. Now there's between full and part-time 39 people. And all they do is restaurant marketing. Right now, back office 2 behind me is three of our content team talking content. I saw them all pull in the parking lot and walk in. They're all talking content for restaurants. What's going to get people's attention besides, here's a cheeseburger? What's going to get them to take an action? Because at the end of the day, Gary Vaynerchuk, if you guys want to follow anybody, follow Gary V. Warning, you might need a beep button. If you don't like the F-bomb, he says it a lot. But the one thing he says that's really stuck with me my entire marketing career has been, we're attention day traders, is that at the end of the day, if Mike's restaurant, Extra Innings, if Matt Plapp lives in the area and I see Extra Innings 10 times in the next 12 months, okay. If I see Extra Innings 100 times, it's math. I'm going to come to the restaurant more often.
Out of sight, out of mind. Right?
Yeah. And so at the end of the day, the goal is, how do I consistently get the attention of people more consistently? And it comes down to, you've got to get them to engage. And like one of my taglines I've been using recently that we have in the new book is, I say, replace hope and pray with aim and expect. Almost all businesses hope that Matt Plapp had a great experience and pray that Matt Plapp comes back. Screw hope and pray. You know Matt Plapp had a great experience because your restaurant's awesome, your food's awesome, your service is awesome. You need to be able to look at your database and say, okay, I want more men to come in this week. I want more frequent customers this week. I want more lost customers. Aim at them with a marketing campaign and expect a return. If you can't, why the heck are you doing it?
Awesome stuff. I've loved this conversation. Tons of value. You've definitely sold me on this school of thought. If we are interested in the services you offer, if you want to continue the conversation, if we want to follow you on your journey in your Sprinter van across the country, what's the best way to connect?
So mattplapp.com is my website. We're actually getting ready to do a rebrand on a lot of our websites. Are getting redone this week, or I guess next week at this point. It's Thursday. But mattplapp.com, you can find anything about us. Americasbestrestaurants.com is a new site. It's not out. The public doesn't know about it yet. And so don't judge it by the empty listings. But America's Best Restaurants is going to be huge. That is our consumer-facing media company. Restaurant Marketing That Works is the marketing brand within our business. But if you go to mattplapp.com, you'll find all these. Matt@mattplapp.com is my email. My cell phone is 859-743-2408. Anybody can reach out to me, give me a call. I don't do much of what we do anymore in the team. You know, like Mike, all of the results Mike is getting is from Tom's team that builds all the automation, Ashley's team that runs all the ads, and Tanya's team that runs all the content, you know, and then Doug and Mark and Scott oversee account management. I just kind of hang out over here and talk to Kramer.
Yeah. And Eric. With podcasts, right? So this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much. We wrap up every chat by calling somebody out to be a future guest in the show. That's really how I try to dictate who I make an example of. So who do you respect and admire, and somebody who's just crushing it, and you, if they were a guest on the show tomorrow, you'd be tuning in? Who is it?
I can't say two, just one.
You can say as many as you want.
Okay, I've got two people. They popped to mind. I talked to a lot of people that are awesome, by the way. So if I don't say you, it's not because you're not awesome. It's just these two popped to mind because I've talked to them the last 24 hours. Number one is a guy named David Scott Peters. He's out in Arizona. He is, I don't know if he's been on here before or not, but he's a guru.
He's regular.
Okay. So there you go. David Scott Peters.
Yes.
David Scott Peters is awesome. I love DSP. I jokingly said I need me some more DSP in my life. Just, it's tangible, actionable, no BS advice. The other one is David D. Lorenzen. He goes by D-Lo. He is in Arizona also, ironically. Maybe there's something in the water out there. But he owns a couple companies. One of his companies is called Bar and Restaurant Insurance. But he also, I like D-Lo from a different side of that. He has that experience. He's owned restaurants. He's worked in restaurants. He's got a bar and restaurant insurance company. But he also has a lifestyle brand that talks about that physical fitness mindset, self-help side of it, nutrition. And it's just good. I think a lot of us entrepreneurs, you know, like myself, you, Mike, Ramon, I'm sure all of us are in the business, in the grind, and we ignore ourselves too much. And if you don't take care of your mind, if you don't take care of yourself, especially me, I've got a team that relies on me. If I'm not at my best every day, it's going to trickle down. And D-Lo is awesome from just a standpoint of mind, body, nutrition. And then he happens to be in the restaurant bar business, which I think is what, I don't think I know. That's what got him into this world, because he was going down the wrong path in the bar part of the restaurants and a little too crazy on stuff, nutrition and all the other things, and got to a point where he realized in order for him to be the best entrepreneur possible and the best husband and the best boss, he had to get his stuff together, and he'd be an awesome guest.
Yeah. So that was David Scott Peters. I'm sure he'll be back on the show at some point. And hit me with, was D-Lo.
D-Lo.
What's his full name?
David D. Lorenzen.
David D. Lorenzen. Look out, guys. I'm coming after you. I'd love to get you on the show. And I think that's that. All that's left to be said now is, Matt, there is no questioning, my man. You are unstoppable. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today to share your knowledge. And I'm looking forward to growing this relationship. I
appreciate it. I appreciate I think it might have been Mike that recommended me. I appreciate that. I appreciate your trust and your loyalty, and love it, Eric. Love what you're doing. I follow you all the time. I watch you on IG all the time. So keep it up and keep helping others be unstoppable.
For sure. Cheers.